Board of Trustees for Tuesday, June 5th, 2018. First item on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'll turn that over to Mr. Bingham.
Yes, tonight I'm going to lead the invocation, so if you would please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the beautiful weather that we've had for the graduations. We thank you for successful completion of the school year. And we ask that you be with us tonight and watch over us. Help us to make decisions that are the best that we feel like for the district. And that you be with us throughout the summer and help the students who are in Lexington too to have a safe summer and be able to return next year. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the consent agenda. If there's no objection, the agenda will stand approved as submitted. Next item is new business, and we have A through H, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Eisenhower.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have several items on the agenda that Mr. Bill McPherson will be presenting to you. So, Mr. McPherson, if you would come up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. James, member of the board. The first couple we're going to run through is the contract for moving portables. We're moving 5 portables from Pine View and BC1 to Davis, so that Fulton can have enough capacity to that. We put the project out to bid, and we got the bids back in yesterday morning. Carolina House Movers was a low bid for a cost of $20,375. So we feel it's very competitive. They were $2,000 less than one of the other people, so that was kind of nice. We have some other ancillary costs in there, putting some roads, putting some brass underpinning, power, and all that stuff that's going to come as the project continues. But right now, we ask for your approval for Carolina House Movers if that amount to move the board.
What's the amount again?
$20,375.
Mr. Ray.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve contract with the Carolina House Movers for $20,375 to move portables from Pine View to Davis.
I have a motion by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. Questions?
Yes. The portables we're moving, we don't have any issues with regard to setting them up and OSF approving them because of when, are these certified age-wise?
Yes, sir. We've got jump car seats to help us out, and they came in. We looked at the age of those things, got a structural engineer to look at, an electrical engineer, did soil boring tests, got all that together, wrapped it all up to get the OSF to the tabletop review this week, and they approved everything with a few minor stipulations. Need to have a fire access road, some other things, so it's all been blessed by OSF to move. It meets all the requirements.
How many are you moving all the ones from?
I moved 3 from Pine View, 2 from DC. Those are the newer ones. I think 2007 or something. There was
Because we had a problem with some of the old ones that couldn't be moved. We were trying to get ones too.
We really don't want some of those old ones, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So these are all the same vintage, the newest ones we have. So.
They meet the wind load requirements for the new facilities or whatever.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second one is the concrete, VCT, and carpet. We did a lot of work there last summer, and then we moved into the hallway in the media center. So we placed the carpet there, and we have with the state contract, Bonnets has that contract. The price is $51,643. We'd like your, I guess, basically to approve or ratify this. We hit a stumbling block early this week is we have some asbestos in the hallways. I guess years ago they did the classrooms and they redid the HVAC. They did not do the hallways. So I'm going to have to take it, put this back out to I have to bid out the asbestos abatement. And if we can get a decent price this summer, we're kind of late in the game, we'll do the work. If we can't, we'll have to push this out to the next summer. That kind of caught us on the backside of the asbestos. So I'd like approval to go ahead with bonnets, if we have that kind of set together. We'll probably go ahead and turn loose on the carpet, because that media center really needs that.
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the contract with Bonnets for the amount of $51,643 for the installation of flooring at Congaree Elementary School.
I have a motion by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler.
It's all on media, correct?
Yes, ma'am. This is the media center gets carpet. We're also going to do there's a guidance counselor right there. We'll put carpet in her office, kind of redo that. And then mainly the hallways out there.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next project we have is the LED lighting project. This is replacing the 4-foot fluorescents around the district. This is a good project. We actually kind of have it going. Completed maintenance, Congaree Elementary, DC #1, Pine Ridge, and we are currently about halfway through Congaree and Wood over there. The project we put it out for bid, and we had probably 6 people bid on it, so that was good competition. Infinite Energy got the award at $15 a bulb. Our guesstimate is about 25,000 bulbs across the district, so the total price would be around $375,000.
Where's this coming from?
It's actually 2016-17 CPIF funds. There's $250,000 there.
Where's the company that's doing this, got the bid, where are they from?
I believe they're from Monroe, North Carolina, which is outside of Charlotte.
The $15 minimum, how much?
I'm sorry.
Contract minimum, how much?
We're guessing what $375,000 is where it's
It's a unit price. So
it's a unit price of $15 a bulb. Yes.
and we'll go as long as the money lasts. That's what, and I think
We have $500,000 appropriated in last year's and this year's CPIF to replace LED bulbs. We feel this will come into $375. So
Are they just replacing the bulb with a LED unit, or are they having to change the ballast now?
they are removing the ballast completely, wiring it end to end, so I don't have 2 sets of individuals sitting side by side. If the lens is broken, they're replacing that. If the tombstones are broken, they're replacing those. So what you'll end up with is a fixture with no ballast, and I'm hoping my maintenance guys don't have to go back over there for about 10 years. So,
But it's an old fixture, correct?
it is an old fixture, yes, ma'am.
$15 a bulb is parts, labor, everything.
Everything, yes, sir. Actually, I have a broken, if there's a broken lens, we're paying $10 for broken lens. That's not included, but that's kind of minor, so. But yes, ma'am, it's basically $60 a fixture. If you go out and buy a fixture, you look at $60, then you gotta hang it, you gotta meet OSF requirement for mounting it up. It gets kind of a lot more tedious, so.
Have we estimated cost savings by doing this? I know it's going to be pretty noticeable, I think.
If you run the calculations, you're looking at, if you're running a regular TA, 32 watt, you're looking at about 48% on cost reduction. They're a little brighter light. What I found in my older district was they end up with dual level switching, only turning on 2 lights versus all 3, or maybe just 1. So I got some compliments and emails out of Pine Ridge that teachers like to thank you for the lights. So that's kind of.
A lot of the stuff that's.
I'm glad. I mean, it's not often we kind of get a thank you from, so it's kind of good to hear that they like the light. So that was good. But that's the gist.
Mr. Bingham?
Make a motion that we approve contract with Infinite Energy for replacement of LED lighting throughout the district in the amount of $375,000.
I have a motion by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
The next project we're talking about is intrusion alarm, burglar alarms across the district. We have some antiquated systems across our district, and the person who has the contract with those is not the funnest guy to work with either, I believe. So With that being said, we've appropriated some money, and we'd like to go through and upgrade those. The state contract is TSC, Technology Solutions of Charleston, and we have awarded 2 POs, so I'd like your permission to ratify this contract. In the maintenance department, we redid that system for $8,659. And at Davis, we have a purchase order right now for $9,381. So I think that's a really good price, actually, he's giving us to go through and update these systems. So.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the contract to TSC for replacement of the burglar alarm systems at maintenance in the amount of $8,659 and at Davis for $9,381.
I have a motion by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
The next project is dealing with the concrete pad we've installed over there at Busby. It's installing basketball goals and bleachers. And we've gotten, once again, a state contract. Churches Recreation is one of the vendors out there, so we've gone with them. The total cost of this project is $17,268. And we'd like this to be ratified also, as we purchased.
Say the amount again.
I'm sorry, $17,268.
17,260. Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve contract to Churches Recreation in the amount of $17,268 for the installation of basketball goals and bleachers at Busby Creative Arts.
I have a motion by Mr. Bingham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next item on the agenda is the sound system for Springdale Elementary Cafeteria. And we'd like to present a contract to MB Con to install this, with Musicraft being the subcontractor, in the amount of $37,080.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the installation of a new sound system in Springdale for the contract with MB-Con in the amount of $37,080.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? Mr. Bingham?
All right, on the sound system, why are we having to go through MB-Con to get the sound? I thought we were kind of using these other subs that were doing this kind of work.
You have to put it out for bid, and you end up getting into a hodgepodge of different people doing different things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get these to where they operate the same throughout the district, or as close as we can, so that when they go to the Lexington 2 Innovation Center, people will be willing to use that stage because it operates similarly. When we go to the new Performing Arts Center, they'll be willing to go there because the system operates similarly to what they have. So we've tried to, make them as familiar as we can throughout the district so that they will work basically the same. And we've had Musicraft to come in and draw up these specifications for us, and then we have the contractor to put it out for bid in order to save time, to also make sure that that we get somebody to oversee it. The electrician has to put in the conduit based on whatever the design is. So again, the electrician works for the contractor, so it just kind of makes it all simple for us.
So it wasn't included in the work we were doing originally?
No, sir.
And why is that any different than the, like the telecom systems where we want them all the same too, We got one guy, we just hired him, and okay, he's doing all the telephone.
If we had gotten onto the thing early on with Music Craft, what we were doing originally was basically the electrical engineers hired by the architect were doing a somewhat of a design, and we were using Sid Gaddis, but we were still going through the contractors to do that. It's been different from each architect because some of the architects set up an allowance to do it, some didn't include anything, and this is one of those where we didn't have anything included, so we had to go basically, and the electrical engineer wasn't as thorough as what we've had on most of our projects. So we've had to come back and we've had to redo it after the fact.
So are we going to have to pay the architect's fees on the work if it's going to be con? Because then the amount of their contract.
No, so this will be a lump sum separate from the original contract.
So it's a completely separate contract from the CM contract.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
What type of training is going to be provided on these things? I know some of the new systems, there have been some struggles just learning how to use them. Is there something we're going to do district-wide on all these systems?
And that's part of what we've encountered, and that's why we asked Mr. McPherson basically to get with, his background is basically electrical engineer, so this is above my level of understanding, so I've asked Bill to handle this. And he has gone out and has gotten folks to kind of come in and do the specifications. We now have a specification, and we're trying to make sure that they all get installed properly. And part of what we put out there is that they have to train the staff to make sure that they understand how it works.
Is it going to be one company that's going to be able to do the training on all of our different systems, even though there may be some where there's probably going to be some?
Any training we need, we can get, yes. And the thing I like about the system we're doing here is, besides you hit a button here for a screen, you hit a button here for a projector, you go find a remote, you do this, it's one touchpad, everything is there. And so the simplicity of that will hopefully lead to ease and usability.
Thank you.
The other systems are good, it's just that we wanted to simplify it as much as we could.
So, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, the next item on the agenda is an item that's been discussed a lot. And we're at a point where that we have to make a decision, or we have to start spending good money after bad. There's been discussion
Start
about
what? Spending what? Say that again.
good money after bad.
And what do you mean by that?
If we're going to go with collapsible goals, we need to go ahead and do that rather than spending the money to put the tubes hanging from the ceiling. So the difference in price is $13,000. And rather than us telling the contractor to start installing the tubes, because that's what's in the contract right now, is ceiling mounted goals. Rather than us doing that, if we're going to go with collapsible goals, this is the time to do that. I just need a decision, one way or the other. And right now, since it's not in the project, the administration is recommending that we do not install it.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve installing the collapsible goals in the new arena with a cost of approximately $13,000.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Giles.
And can I speak to that?
You may.
It was my understanding, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I do see Joel's here in the background, maybe put you on the spot. But it was my understanding that that would have been covered in the GMP. I don't think it's going to be like, here's the cost of the arena at the end of the day. Somebody needs to write a check for $13,000. It was my understanding it was covered either through the contingency or somehow, but it's covered within the cost of the GMP.
We can cover it within the contingency, it's just not in the project right now.
And so with such a de minimis amount as $13,000, when you consider how much the whole place costs, I guess my concern would be, just like at our very last meeting, where I know this was on the agenda, but we didn't have a price yet, apparently. But the very last meeting, we approved projects because the school requested them, extra stuff for athletic facilities. And I don't understand, this is such a de minimis amount of $13,000, the school has asked for it, that's what they want. I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't do that as a board.
Can I ask a question to Joel?
Sure.
Joel, in the arenas that are being built, like the one that is being built at Brooklyn Casey, are the movable goals what is being put in them? Or is it what a school wants? Or is this the way you go now so you don't have to replace something in the future? Could you speak to that, please?
Madam Chair, and the answer to that is they're still utilizing a variety of these goals. But what we see from a flexibility standpoint, especially the way the arenas are being used more and more, trying to limit the amount of equipment that we have hanging, it seems to look a little nicer. It also adds a little flexibility. But more and more what we're seeing, I know in the last 5 now, high schools that we've done, we have the flexible goals.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to speak to this a bit. If we were in a unique situation, an ideal situation, where somebody was going to take care of something, where a safety factor wasn't involved, I'd say yes, but I'm saying no, because they will not be stored correctly. Then you're going to have a constant maintenance of getting them up there, cables in the right place, and everything else. Plus all that, I think there's a safety item here. You got a pole that's going to support something, then you're going to have people running into the poles. And I just don't think that we're using common sense, and 13,000 is not an outrageous number. I imagine most people here could write a check for that and cover it, but my thing is not today, but long term. We go into our facilities right now and we see where things are not kept clean, we see where things are not stored properly, and there's not enough storage in that building to even have any PE facilities stored there. So we're going to have a storage problem. I just think it's ridiculous to even think about the concept of something that's going to have to be taken down and stored, then somebody's going to have to come in and put them up. Then you're going to have a possibility of somebody running into a pole safety factor. I'm opposed to this simply for safety, for upkeep, long-term maintenance. Nothing to do with money or what a school wants. And I think we've got to look at the big picture. I want a car, a big Maserati or whatever, but I know that that's outrageous for me to think about at this time. But so I'm thinking, it'd be nice to have it if the world were perfect and if we were in a perfect situation, but we're not there. I'm opposed to this.
Mr. Giles.
And while I understand what you're saying, Kay, I think you're making statements about the future based on our past. And based on our past, I understand what you're saying from a maintenance standpoint. That's why we've made some changes in maintenance. I also think that for the most part, these goals are going to be in the same place most of the time. I mean, they're not going to be moved every single day. They're going to be moved when we have special events, when we have volleyball tournaments, when we have other situations where they're not being used as a basketball arena. But I do think we need to very seriously consider this is something that the athletic director, the principal, the basketball coach, and the design committee have all requested. And while it is our job to look at the overall picture, just like our architect just told us, this is something you see more and more because it does provide the flexibility. So I understand your concern about safety, but I think the flexibility and the desire of our personnel at the school are going to outweigh that.
Shareholders come and go. I've been here for 47 years. I don't think there's a principal who's been out there that long or an athletic director who's been out there that long. I just think that we have to look at the overall picture and not consider somebody that, you talk about shareholders and committees and all like this, but I'm just looking at the economic situation. We had a brand new facility this morning, and there's stuff up on the wall using athletic tape and there's scotch tape, and in the cubbies and things were trash thrown, empty bottles being thrown around, so I know how we take care of things, and I'm really concerned about it. Upkeep, maintenance is very important.
Well, but if you want to talk about shareholders and longevity, I mean, I know some of the people are in the room, and if you looked around at that group of people who really put that forth, they were raised in this area and have lived here, you know, about half a century each. So I don't think it's just a request, you know, from anybody who may or may not be here so very long. But for instance, the basketball coach, not many names, but I mean, he's a product of our school district. He's been here 20, 30 years, 35 years. So I don't, from that perspective, I don't think it's a decision about who sits in the seat. I think it's an overall collective decision of we want to do, when we build a new facility, we want to go with what the best there is that we can afford, and I think $13,000 is very affordable. And there's no reason why we should tell this school no when we tell other people yes. That if that's what their request is, that's what they want, and we're building for the future, and the very best that is the future. Last 5 you just said have done these. Why would we go back and do something that's past? Why would we not be one of the ones that's going towards the future, particularly with such a de minimis amount?
How's the budget on this project?
I mean, we're within budget. We will have contingency money left over when it's all said and done. And when you look at the overall school budget, I mean, it's going to be tight.
Joel, can I put you on the spot one more time? Is there a storage area for it? Do you know about how these, I think they're more mobile than collapsible, aren't they?
Correct, that's correct, Madam Chair. Yes, we've done 2 things. We do have storage areas for these collapsible goals, number 1. Number 2, I think we identified also another storage area that could be utilized if needed for storage, or it could also be a team meeting room if needed. So it just depends on how much storage is actually needed. As far as that point.
So are these things as big, are they like 14 foot long, 5 foot wide, about 7 foot tall?
Not quite that size, I don't think they're quite that long. Yeah, height is close, probably a little less, once they're collapsed, a little closer to 6 feet. They do fit through all of the doors, et cetera. So, and we've got double wide doors to get those through. You know, I mentioned a few minutes ago the schools. Emerald High School, we did that one. It has new gymnasium. These goals, Lexington High School, New Boylan Springs High School, Catawba Ridge, River Bluff, and then, you know, Pittsburgh DC High School. We do have one that we did go with up in Oconee County. We utilize the signal. I was just trying to remember those. So.
And how much do they weigh? I mean, say we had a basketball game, and all of a sudden cheerleading had a competition that night, and they had to move.
Well, they're motorized.
I mean, they're motorized?
Mm-hmm. That's right. And you know, all the colleges now, large colleges, it's small.
Have you heard any, from those last 5, any complaints about people crashing into them and getting hurt?
No.
Joel, one question for you. I know we're talking about storage, but in reality, how many of them actually store? Do they just motorize them to the corner of the arena and park them out the way while they're having something, or do they actually?
Most people do utilize the storage rooms.
Okay.
To take them back and keep them out of the way. That way you don't have them in the area where students could run into them, et cetera. So we see them move quite a bit.
Thank you, Joel.
I'm just speaking on behalf of a group I sat with, and it was very important to them, and so I just personally would like to request the board will approve this. I think it's something that the school wants. I think it's forward facing, and I very rarely just said I would like personally consideration, but this means a lot to me.
I agree. All right. Any further discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second to install the goals, collapsible goals at Brooklyn Casey High School. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
So, 3. You're no, Kevin? Bill, you're not? Okay. All right. So the motion fails 3-4.
Madam Chair, the next item on the agenda is the synthetic turf for the outside portion of the weight room. And what we were doing is that we were talking about installing this inside the weight room and outside the weight room. The cost to actually install it inside the weight room, I have found, is actually less than the cost to put in the rubberized floor. So I think it's, it's a no-brainer that the school wants that, and I'm fine with that, and we've made the decision to do that based on what the design committee has asked us to do. The installation of the synthetic turf outside the weight room would be an additional $27,000. And from the standpoint of duplicating that on the outside, I'm not opposed to doing that. It's just that I think we may want to wait and look at it from a budgetary standpoint after we get the bids on the rest of the project, and then come back and reconsider. We can always put it in later. And no more than that money is, I think we can probably work it out to probably do it at both schools. But, given the tight budget that we have for this project, the recommendation from the administration is to hold off and make that decision later.
Madam Chair, I would object to this being reconsidered. We actually have voted in it. Actually, nobody brought this to this board except for administration, who brought it to us, I think, on an agenda 2 or 3 times ago to approve that for both high schools. And this board actually voted and approved that item for both high schools. So, I mean, I would object to why we're even reconsidering it right now. I think we've already voted and approved it, so I'm not sure why it's back on the budget here. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Oh. I think we talked about this. We were going to do it at both schools.
We haven't proposed that, to my knowledge, and gotten a vote on that, but I mean, I'm happy to do that if that's what the board wants to do.
Is 27,000 at both schools or 27,000 per
You know,
school?
Per school.
we actually we have videos, Madam Chairman, so at the very least, we can put it off to the next meeting until somebody can review the videotape, because I'm pretty sure we voted on it exactly 2 meetings ago, and it should be on tape.
I believe
It
we
was
did,
brought to us
so
as recommendations.
let's table this until we,
I mean, even if you voted on it, it doesn't stop you from voting again. I mean, no different than we voted the collapsible goals just a minute ago. We voted on it before, and we voted on it again. I mean, it's the exact same thing. I mean, my recollection is that that was a proposal, instead of putting it inside, is to put it outside at both schools so they would be the same. But at the time, there was not said it's going to cost $27,000.
We were waiting to find out how much it was going to cost.
And that's where I think the problem is we got, that's $27,000 per school, that's $50,000 to $54,000 that's not budgeted. And
Well, then I'll make a motion to install the synthetic grass outside as well.
can I have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion?
What is the cost savings for installing it inside? Is that accounted in the 27,000?
It's not very much difference. It's minimal, but it is a little cheaper than the rubberized wool.
I'll tell people on this, as far as being indoor, in a weight room, is there going to be a conflict there of usage?
I think, again, what you're seeing, and Joel, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're seeing a trend of people doing this for CrossFit type training and for aesthetic purposes. So, it's something that the school has asked for specifically, and since there's no cost difference, I agree with the committee on that one, and that, I think we probably should get it to them.
It's primarily for agility drills and idea of having inside and outside so they can do it regardless of weather, regardless of temperature.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any problems with installing it in here, particularly since the cost is not affected, an increase. But I am concerned about maintaining that. Will it require special equipment to keep that portion of the weight room clean?
Well,
I'm not sure you can use a vacuum sweeper that you would use in a room on that surface.
Joel, I'm not sure about that one. I mean,
Yes,
that's been asked before. I did ask that we don't have the rubberized pellets in this. So I'm guessing that the turf is a little shorter.
It is really more of a carpet, not so much like the turf that we have on, both here at Airport and BC. It's really more of a carpet that's utilized, like you said, for more cross-training, CrossFit.
So it can be vacuumed with a regular vacuum?
Yes, correct.
So it won't be like the turf that we have, which was what I was thinking.
No, ma'am, it does not have
Thank you.
pellets. This is really a carpet, that's what it is.
So they'll wear a CrossFit shoe on that, not a cleat or.
That's correct. Now, they may be able, I'm not real sure about it. Todd probably knows more than I do. But they may be able to utilize cleats on it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay,
Wait, if he's not sure what kind of cleats you can wear on it,
Well, I know you can use tennis shoes. I know that. And that's really your CrossFit is what that utilizes. So
Thank
you may also be able to use the cleats.
before we go into voting, I want to know and make clear, are we voting for installing it inside the weight room, or are we voting to install it outside the weight?
I think they've already,
it's already,
Inside's done.
the inside's done.
Worded. How is your wording?
I make a motion that we approve the request of the committee to have the synthetic turf inside, and we also approve the request, and we're just a little strip, and then we also approve to have the synthetic turf outside.
Our
That's
administration's
no problem.
recommending that we wait a while. This is something we need to wait on.
I'm not sure anybody has issues with installing it inside, so
That's my question. I don't want it together because I'm feeling no for one, but I don't mind if it's installed inside. So if it's combined,
Why are you feeling no for the outside?
$54,000.
Only
What's
one
that?
school has requested it at this point, so it's only $27,000.
Well, you've heard them say that they would do it at those schools.
I've heard them say that
Okay.
it would be available. I'm just saying.
Well, that's
that
fine, $27,000.
One school has requested it. I mean, what we'll be voting on right now will be $27,000. I have no problem if the airport wants it. They haven't requested it at this point. So what we're voting on tonight would just be $27,000. Is that my understanding?
Again, I would point out, these two items were on the same agenda where we just approved $54,000 in requests from another school, and now we're gonna take two requests from another school and say no vote.
We got, but our administration wants us to wait on this, and I think it's something we might want to consider at a later date, because it can be done at a later date.
I think a lot of the
The
things
question
we
is,
voted on,
will it be done at a later date? That's the real question.
and I think other things we voted on could have been done at a later date too, but some projects were done before we got to this one.
Okay, so,
For the record, I've always voted yes on those types of projects.
so the turf is going, the turf has already been approved to go inside
but
the weight room?
technically it has not been approved, but, I mean, that's what the design committee has recommended, and we see no reason not to do that. We really, I mean, we're not opposed to doing it outside. It's just that, you know, we just think the budget's gonna be so tight, we'd like to wait and just consider it with everything else. And, you know, it can be done later. And I do think the odds of it happening, if both schools want it, or if one school wants it, I think the odds will be pretty good.
If the budget is so tight, district-wide, then why did we have an administration's recommendation to approve other projects to add additional lockers and facilities and things like that on the same agenda as this one, and not a recommendation to approve what this school wants?
The budget district-wide is not as tight as the budget at this particular school, because we had a certain amount of money set up for each school. My job has been, and I've taken it very seriously, to try to keep every school within budget as best we could. And that's where we are with this, is we've got probably $8 million worth of needs at this school that's out for bid right now. And we've got about $5.3 million left to do it. So that's the concern that I have at this school, is that there's gonna have to be, in my opinion, some value engineering done on this project, just as we've done at several other projects. It's just that, this is one of those items that I think can be done later, and we can put our money where that, it might be better used inside the buildings. But again, it doesn't matter either way. It's just that the budget is going to be very tight for this school.
Here's my concern with that, Don, and I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate the job that you've done on all of our projects, because we certainly would not be where we're at without you, and I mean that sincerely.
Yeah, that's fine.
My concern is we seem to find money for some schools, and we're not finding or not approving it for this school. And you say what you want to, Cindy, you can react however you want to, but
That's so unfair.
I'm still speaking.
Go for it.
Thank you. And I want to be made this real clear, because I have voted absolutely for every additional project we've had at those schools, and I think they were deserved. I think Airport Baseball Stadium absolutely needs to be updated. That was not in our original budget, and we found money for that. And I'm happy for it, and it looks great, and it's going to be over. I just have a real problem when we're talking about a combined $40,000 that we can't come together as a board and approve that. That's what I have a problem with.
And I would ditto that.
And I would totally agree also. We're not hurting anybody but the children on this. So to go
Portable
back,
goals versus hanging goals, is it against the student? don't
I mean,
think so.
that is what they are putting in these arenas that are being built, that you don't have to worry about touching for 20 years. And we're sitting here talking about whether this principal or this athletic director, how long they've been here. All we're doing is hurting the children on this. So going back, I'm not clear exactly what you want us to vote on H. Is the turf already approved for the inside of Brooklyn Casey High School's arena?
You have not voted on that as a board.
But that is what has been asked. That
I'm not asking you to vote on that, I'm just making you aware that the cost difference is very minimal for what the school wants on the inside. So I don't know that that's an issue that you really need to vote on unless you're opposed to it. Because as of right now, we're planning to put it in, because the cost difference is minimal.
All right, so we don't need to vote. The turf is going inside the arena.
Inside the weight room, right now, as of right now, that's what we told the contractor.
Is it right now or is going?
Yes, ma'am, I mean, unless you guys tell us otherwise, it's going to.
Okay, so what we're voting on is if we're gonna do 27,000 for the turf outside of Brooklyn Casey High School
As of right now. And I will say this too.
at this date.
Yes, ma'am.
And can I go back and ask one question? On the arena, is it where, for some down the road, if they had the money for the collapsible goals, can they be put in?
Yes, ma'am, that's what I was getting ready to
Okay.
say.
And how much is it gonna cost when that happens to take down those mounted
Well,
goals?
I don't know that you have to take them down. I guess you would have to take them down to a certain extent, but, Todd, or,
That's the
Joel, you got any idea?
Well, the point about it is the arena can be used for so many more things, and you don't, you can move that out, you can have programs in there.
Physical education classes.
Graduation, physical education classes, you can all kinds of stuff. You could actually move this stuff around, so you can have a volleyball court going cross court and basketball court going this way. I mean, there's so much more you can do by having the collapsible goals. You make it a lot more useful rather than it just being a basketball place or a volleyball place or a cheerleading place or just a gym. You're making it a facility that can be used for a lot of things by a lot of people, and that's why I think it's so important And I think we've already considered that. And I'm sorry, Joel, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no. So the question is, can you come back later and do it? You can. The difference is you would have already paid for the goals that are hanging. Right now, the reason that number is 13,000 is because you're actually getting a credit, so to say, for not putting up those goals is utilizing the other. So it would be more expensive. And the only other thing is when they build the gym floor, they also put small grommets in the floor that pin where exactly the goal goes. These are very, very small, not tripping hazard or anything like that. They use them all the time. So that's the only other thing, that you would have to go back to your floor and get those installed.
But you can install them now, can't you?
Well, Mr. Key, you could. Problem is, it depends on the manufacturer of that lift, and they do change over time. So that would be the only fallacy there.
It's like a volleyball standard in a floor, and when you redo that surface of it, it always changes. It becomes a trip fall hazard too when they resurfacing the floor. So that's a consideration too.
Could be. These are very small. I mean, they're silver dollar size. That big.
Like the bars on an uneven bar for gymnastics, yes, and the cables attached to it. Right.
But it is where they can't come back and do it.
You could.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How much are the hanging goals? Do you know, Don?
I really don't know.
No? Okay, so I have a motion and a second for turf, both inside and out at the arena at Brooklyn Casey High School.
Is that per the administration's recommendation to wait until, or is that to purchase now?
To purchase now. Have any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye, Kevin? Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-3. All right. I believe that's it, isn't it? All right. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, the Board of Trustees enter closed session for consideration of personnel appointments and resignation, discussion on tuition waivers, update on volunteer coaches, and discussion of contractual matters and property matters.
Have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're in executive session.